With Sheamus back competing on Raw again, it's time to give him his Grand Slam status, making him Intercontinental Champion. We travel back in time to WWE Backlash in Lyon, France. Not Paris, France, as I thought at the time, I think a lot of people did. The IC title has been hard fought on Raw since WrestleMania Extra Large, as Gable, Zayn, Ricochet, Shinsuke, and Bronson Reed are all contending for it. The Backlash match itself saw Sami Zayn defend his title against Chad Gable, who had cashed in his favour with Sami for a match without any outside interference, as he had been getting a lot of those from the Raws since Mania. In this current world here, he has not turned heel. The two trade throughout the match until Zayn hits a Luva kick and they both drop down to the mat. Out of energy as the ref begins to count them, new music hits and it's a returning brawling brute. It is Sheamus. Sheamus makes his way down to the ring, and as he gets close, Chad sees him. But Sheamus doesn't head to the ring, but around it. He joins commentary. But at the same time, Gable hasn't taken his eyes off of Sheamus. Following the previous bouts of interference against him, Sami, using this, attempts a roll-up, but Chad kicks out and the two just continue their bout. The match continues with Sheamus only on commentary, but both Sami and Chad throughout the match look towards him, expecting something to come from it, but it never does. Sami ends up picking up the win when he manages to get a roll-up counter from a Chaos Theory Chad was trying to hit. We enter the following Raw, in which Chad appears backstage saying that he keeps getting interference whenever he faces Sami Zayn. And if there was no interference, he would be champion. If it was just him and Sami, he would be champion. Later on that same Raw, Sheamus makes his triumphant return. When he stands in the ring, he looks sad. He begins to speak, saying that he wishes he could show the fans his love, but as he says that, Sami Zayn makes his way out. Zayn enters the ring and steps up to Sheamus. He questions Sheamus. Is this fake? Are you jealous? Sheamus stays quiet as Zayn just questions him. As Sheamus is about to speak, Gable comes out. Gable tells Zayn that he wants answers from Sheamus as well as to why he showed up on Backlash. They begin to bicker between each other, not using the microphones, but it's picked up through the cameras themselves. Sheamus puts his hand up, and they both go quiet. All I needed was that title. I needed to beat Gunther. I had to beat the best, but now I can't. It begins to feel like he's retiring because this is all... He's sad. He's having regret over the past year or so of his life in the squared circle, but his face changes from the sadness to anger. He looks at both of Sami and Chad before saying, "You took away my moment. Now I'll take you out." He begins to beat the absolute hell out of both Gable and Sami. It's a man possessed and nobody can stop him. Alpha Academy come out and Sheamus stares down at us before leaving the ring. The following Raw, Sheamus is asked backstage, which Sheamus do we have? He answers the Sheamus who is going to be Intercontinental Champion for the first time. Now get out of my way. He storms into Pierce's office, but we cut away before we hear anything from it. We return to our story later in that same show, in which the Alpha Academy call out Sheamus to the ring, but it's not Sheamus they get, but Adam Pearce. Pearce announces that Sheamus will not fight Gable tonight, or any member of the Alpha Academy tonight. Maxine shouts over Pearce, demanding him to force Sheamus to fight Otis, Tozawa, Gable, someone from the Academy, but Pearce stands his ground. Next week, Maxine, he says, Sheamus will make his return to in-ring competition against Ricochet, while Chad, if he gets Sami to agree to it, will face him one more time. Pearce leaves, but as the Academy seem to be happy, Chad is not. Although Chad and Sami do manage to agree to their match, Sheamus is backstage and talks with Drew McIntyre. Sheamus and Ricochet open the show, and Sheamus picks up a hard-fought win as he showcases Ricochet's speed and durability, whilst you do see Sheamus is hitting harder than before, but he's not as clean striking as he used to be. He ends up picking up the win with a simple bro kick, and later on, we see Sami backstage injured, and Pearce removes the title match from tonight's card. Gable tells him he can't take his chance away again, but Adam says he must do it. Maxine tells Pearce that she knows who attacked Sami Zayn. Sheamus. Later on, Pearce calls Sheamus into his office. The two talk back and forth about Zayn's attack, and Sheamus seems to be truthful when he says he didn't do it. But Pearce asks him if he knows who did. Sheamus smirks and he says, "Of course not, Adam," before leaving. Gable attacks Sheamus backstage out of just pure frustration, but Sheamus chucks him about, but Otis supports Chad. He aids Chad as they begin to overpower Sheamus. Referees and producers come through and break them up. Gable challenges Sheamus, who says he accepts if it means he gets his hands on what he wants. Chad says that fine, he'll put his title shot online and the two agree for a match next week. We enter the following Raw in which the Sheamus vs Chad match is the main event of the show. With Sammy on commentary, the winner faces him for this championship at King and Queen of the Ring. The two cut promos on why they need to become champion, Sheamus for himself and Gable for his family. Gable comes out with their Cammy by his side and awaits Sheamus' appearance. Sheamus' music hits, but it's just Sheamus that comes out. It's Drew McIntyre. McIntyre stands still as his sword hits the ground. Sheamus appears, the two make their way down as Drew stares down Otis. Sheamus and Gable now fires both have people in their corner supporting. Drew is chill though. No care for the actual match, just staring a hole through their Cammy at ringside. They fight for a solid 20-25 minutes, but Gable hits a chaos steer and gets a near fall. Sheamus gets up and hits a bro kick the moment two are both up. He goes for the cover, but pulls Gable up from the mat. He lifts him up and delivers a high cross for the first time in over a decade, ever since Jamie Noble's career was ended by it. He covers and picks up the win. Or he would have if the Creed brothers didn't interfere. They take out McIntyre, and Gable pins Sheamus by a roll-up through that distraction. That is the way that Raw ends as we head into WWE King and Queen of the Ring. It's happening, and the Intercontinental title is 4-4 yet again between Chad Gable and Sami Zayn. This match is a spectacle and a show stealer. In the end, Sami wins by pinning Chad Gable as the Old Academy and the Creeds go against one another at ringside. As much as I prefer Chad as a babyface, and I think his heel turn isn't the best thing for his character, I do think Gable and the Creeds is where WWE is going, and honestly, I think that helps the Creeds more, and I think Gable's time is probably now past what it could have been. Gable berates Otis after the match, but Otis leaves before Gable can do anything. In the end, Gable by himself, the Creeds away, and the rest of Alpha Academy away. They're not joined. Late in that show, we see Sheamus and Zayn pass each other on the way to Adam Pearce's office, with Sheamus glaring in that Intercontinental Championship. We then return to Monday nights with Raw. Sami cuts a promo about moving on from Chad and making this title the prize on Monday Night Raw and in the WWE to continue the rise of the belt up the card that Gunther had started across the past nearly 700 days. This brings out the Celtic Warrior, Sheamus. Sheamus steps up to Sami, stating that the title around his waist is his goal, and the reason he returned was for that piece of gold. And at Clash of the Castle, he will do what he should have done last time and walk out as champion. Before Sami responds though, out comes Chad Gable. No one, no Creeds, no Alpha Academy. Gable says that he was screwed because of a buffoon of a student and he deserves another shot at the title that was rightfully his, because if it wasn't for him, Gunther would still be champion. Sheamus steps up to Gable, attempting to put some fear into the eyes, but Gable steps back cautiously, saying that he wants to fight Sheamus for it again because he knows he can beat him. This brings out Adam Pearce. Pearce states that Gable has had his chances, and if he wants another one, then he must win against someone new, someone he hasn't faced before, someone like this man. He points to the ramp, and out comes Otis with Maxine Dupree. This leads to a match between Chad and Otis, a teacher versus student match. The two have a somewhat hard-fought contest. This is showcasing Otis' power and strength against Chad's pure wrestling ability, and why he was the teacher for Otis, the teacher for Maxine, the teacher for the Zauer, and it's able to balance out that match. It's a 50-50 match here. We're pushing Otis up as Gable's kind of having ease in terms of wrestling, but it's the power that's getting Otis back in. Gable utilizes this match to teach Otis a lesson after a lesson after a lesson. And it's when Otis is set up to hit the worm that the Creed brothers appear. They drag Zauer out and leave him on top of the ramp. He's just bloody, he's just out. Otis gets distracted by seeing his friend just in utter pain looking at the top of the ramp, and Gable manages to grab him and just hit a massive chaos theory, gain that win. The Creeds walk down to the ring and enter it with Gable. They put Gable on his shoulders as Maxine supports Otis as they head back up the ramp to go after Zauer. Pearce is on the course, and new Alpha Academy enters his office, that of Gable and the Creeds. Gable smirks as Pearce gets off the phone. He tells the trio that next week it will be Gable versus Sheamus. And the winner will face Sami Zayn at Clash of the Castle for the Intercontinental title. The three smile and begin to walk away, but Pearce doesn't stop. He didn't tell him everything about that match. And he walks up to Chad and goes, do you remember what you wanted when you were facing Sami before? You wanted, what was it? No outside interference. Well, I quite like the idea. Next week, if anyone interferes, you lose the match. If the Creeds enter, you lose. Chad's face just drops as he's lost that advantage that he gained with, in his eyes, the two reliable people behind him now, the Creeds. Instead of having Otis and Tozawa with him, he's got the Creeds. As we enter the show next week, Gable and Sheamus do their heartfelt promos. This is fueling on those promos they did in their last match to get that King and Queen of the Ring match. And it's them kind of talking about why they need to be champion. Gable continues saying for his family, and he needs this. He needs this title because it's rightfully his, and he's got the Creeds behind them. Because he's more heel this time. It's not as much he's doing it to make his family proud. He's doing it because his family needs it and he needs it. It's about a need, not a want. But Sheamus, he delivers a similar promo. He says he needs this for him. He's not doing it for the fans. He's not doing it for his family. He's doing it because deep down, this is what he needs to do so that when he looks back at his career, when people look at his career, they see what he is. He is the Celtic Warrior. He is the Grand Slam champion. He is one of the best wrestlers in the WWE for over a decade. He needs one more run. The match between the two is half forward, same as their last fight. They utilize moves from their own movesets and each other's. Sheamus hits a few Germans and Gable hits some knees and some strikes. Kind of feels between a Gunther versus Sheamus match and a Chad versus Sami match. They're mixing those two and they're even hitting moves from Sami and Gunther in the match, including Blue Thunder Bombs. As Gable attempts to hit a Chaos Theory in the match to kind of get that win, Sheamus grabs the rope and stops the Chaos from actually hitting the mark. And although Chad just pushes him back and immediately goes across the table, removes turnbuckle pad, the ref's eyes draw towards him, they go over it, and this allows Gable to go back to Sheamus, and after a few hits he goes for another Chaos Theory, and Sheamus grabs the rope again. This time Chad just kicks him in the balls and Sheamus lets go as the Chaos Theory is hit. Chad makes the cover, but the ref is still fixing the other turnbuckle pad he took off and takes a few seconds before he turns around. He gets down, he starts counting, but due to that time he was doing the turnbuckle pad, it's unable to get the 3 count. Chad's annoyed at this and he's shouting at the referee. He's shouting that he should just count 1, 2, 3. It's not that difficult, and this is as Sheamus is slowly making his way up, and the crowd is starting to get behind this fierce Celtic Warrior. It's different to what he's been getting since he's returned. When he returned, he was getting this milling reaction between people cheering for him because he's now back, and people booing him because he's being more fierce, he's being more of a heel than I think a lot of people expect, and this is fueling Sheamus. He gets up, he hits a bro kick and just pins it immediately down. The ref counts 1, 2, and Chad kicks out, and quickly as he kicks out, he just puts the ankle lock on and holds it for a minute. Think of Angle and Michaels, it's just in and in. And Sheamus eventually manages to get to the ropes, and he's got to break that ankle lock. Sheamus is getting back up and Chad tries to hit a chop block to him, but Sheamus is able to turn and grab him, and it's a smooth transition from the grab into the powerbomb, and he hits the powerbomb once, then twice, highlighting that Sheamus is taking that element of Gunther's moveset and even Gunther's character and making it his own. He's more hard hitting, he's hitting the powerbombs, and he hits the powerbomb, but he doesn't want to win off of Gunther's move. So he grabs Chad and he puts him up for a high cross. He hits it in the center of the ring. Sheamus covers for the 1, 2, 3. In the end, without any interference, it is Sheamus who manages to pick up the win. The next week we enter the contract sign of Sheamus versus Sami. Pearce is standing in the ring as the two make the entrances. They sit across from the table with Pearce in the middle of the two. He opens the contract and slides it down to the middle with Sheamus and Sami. The two look up and at the contract and each other before Sheamus grabs it. Sami grabs Sheamus' arm. Sheamus looks up at Sami pissed. Sami grabs the microphone that's sitting next to him. Says, Sheamus, I don't want to wrestle you. I want to fight you. Sheamus smirks. It's his playground, and Sammy goes, if you want to get beat badly, then why don't we make a good old pub brawl? Sammy signs that contract and pushes the Sheamus, who immediately signs it. Pierce announces that they will have a good old pub brawl at Clash of the Castle, and the two stand up with Sheamus chucking the table out of the way, and they just step up to one another. Sammy holds the title up, and Sheamus gestures it's going to go around his waist, ending that segment. As we went to the go-home show, Pierce is in his office with Sammy, and then later on he's in his office with Sheamus. Later on he's in his office with Drew. The only thing that's seen across all those is a few handshakes, a few annoying glances, but a lot of people are leaving happy. Late in the night we see why, as we see Sheamus and McIntyre kind of together and both entering Pierce's office and then storming away and just chucking things around as if they've just been trying to fight against the power that Pierce is now starting to show as he's becoming more confident. After that break, the commentary team put over the show's new main event, a Champions vs. Challengers tag team match. We see the challengers of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre face off against the champions of Damian Priest and Sami Zayn. The two teams make their entrances and they show the relationships. Drew and Sheamus are very friendly and doing it together. You can tell they're mates, they're friends. But then you see Priest and Sami, you can tell that they do not like each other, not on the same page. And the match is a solid TV match, going through multiple commercial breaks and showcasing the friendship between Drew and Sheamus and the struggles of Sami and Damian trying to get on the same page. It's almost as if the match itself is Drew and Sheamus versus Sami, and then for a bit, Drew and Sheamus versus Damian, and swapping back and forth. There are numerous times in this match in which the Judgment Day attempt to aid Sami and support him, but Sami goes against it. It's too negative, it's too much heel work for him. This leads to Rhea and Sami arguing again and again for Judgment Day just decide, fuck it, we don't need this. Priest hits Sami with a South of Heaven, and Sheamus gets the cover. Drew and Sheamus win, but Drew isn't happy. He wanted his hands on Priest more in that moment because of him losing that moment and his championship at WrestleMania because of Priest and Punk. Although the show ends with both Sheamus and Drew on top in the ring, the only man down from the main event is Sami Zayn. Clash of Castle will open with Sheamus facing Sami Zayn as Drew's revenge against Damian Priest headlines the show. We're just interested in the opening contest though, for that Intercontinental Championship, so we won't go down the Drew Priest stuff. Sheamus is given this elaborate entrance for what I would say is probably his first time in WWE, and that is because it is close enough to his home country that WWE will definitely consider its home area, just like they did when Drew was at Clash last time, which was in Wales, not even Scotland. His elaborate entrance will be something, I just don't know what, because like I said before, I don't think he's had that big entrance in the WWE. All the WrestleManias he was in, he could have had one, but he wasn't ever in that main event, so I assume he didn't get that. But we go into this match and there's a mix of all the matches that they've had with Gunther and even Gable in their own past. Sheamus is hitting Sami hard, turning that body red while Sami's resilient and quick early on, and even hitting Sheamus back hard, and Sheamus' chest start turning red. But I guess nowadays that's just any Sheamus match's chest is going red now. This hard-hitting style is blow for blow. Sheamus going, just hitting a hard strike, and then that underdog half Zayn just keeping him in it. Sheamus attempts to hit the beats of the bell drum multiple times, but Zayn just keeps getting out of it. That is until he tries to hit a Luva kick on Sheamus, and as he misses, his leg goes over the rope, and Sheamus is able to just push him all the way onto the apron and just start beating the crap out of his chest. He goes just 1, 2, 3, 4, only stopping when he gets to 20 hits. You can kind of see like Sheamus's hands just being implanted basically at this point on his chest. Like you can just see where Sheamus has just been hitting on repeat on Sami's chest. As Sheamus looks to hit a bro kick, he starts to go, but Sami just drops dead. Sheamus looks and notices that the announce table's in. He heads out and starts to do a bit of table cleaning. But Zayn gets up and he dives through those middle ropes, taking them both over the table and into those commentator chairs. They both manage to get the back into the ring before the count gets to 10. They go through hitting one by one whilst them both making their way up from the ground to their feet. The crowd are half and half for both. Zayn seems to be having more the ace than Sheamus, but it's going back and forth a lot. And Sheamus starts to knock Sami down further and further. And as he makes his way up first, Zayn goes for a blue thunderbomb, but Sheamus turns around and hits a powerbomb. Not once, but twice. Just like Gunther, and just like he did against Chad Gable. He covers for the 1, the 2, and kicks out just before 3. Sami is not giving up. Just like he did Gunther, he's not giving up. Sheamus sets up for the bro kick, beating his chest until Zayn is up and he goes Zayn gets him up and there's a blue thunderbomb, cover, and a near fall. Come on, he was never winning a blue thunderbomb. He never wins with that. Sheamus ends up chucking Zayn to the outside and two just brawl at ringside. Sheamus ends up breaking the count, rolling back in, rolling out, before setting Zayn up to go through that table. With Zayn down, he lifts him up for that high cross and sends him flying through the announce table. He quickly grabs and chucks him back in the ring and looks to deliver a bro kick. Zayn gets up and just like before, he just drops. Sheamus decides it's not. You can't go for the bro kick then. He just picks him up. It's another high cross, this time in the center of the ring. And he makes the cover for the 1, 2, and 3. Your winner and new Intercontinental Champion for the first time ever, and new Grand Slam Champion, Sheamus. Sheamus holds the title high as the WWE broadcast goes to video packages and Peacock ads, because it's PLE, of course it does. And that does end our fantasy booking, at least the beginning of it. I'm not going to go into detail about his reign as champion in this video, but I will say he will face off against a lot of the stars of Raw. I think this would include Braun Breaker definitely, and Dragunov. I think those two can go right into the scene. Those hard-hitting matches will be great fun to watch. I think Jey Uso, who at this time would probably also be contending for the world title, I think it would be just good to get him down and up. Bronson Reed, because Big E would love that. Meatfest, 5 stars. And I think another rematch with Chad Gable would be good. And maybe Chad does win that title. I think my favorite to win the title from Sheamus would be Braun Breaker. But if you guys did enjoy this fantasy booking, why not have a look at the other ones that I've done on the channel and tell me in the comments down below what else you want me to fantasy book. Hope you guys stick around for the next one. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you guys next.